Jake fell in love with Emily at first sight. A young, sultry woman from the South, she was devilishly beautiful, and a big hit with the opposite sex. By the age of 22, she had already managed to be married twice and divorced twice. But Jake could not clearly explain this strange development in her life. When he asked her about her exes, she was evasive. She was a hurricane in life and in bed, never able to stop and always wanting more. The wedding was less than 6 months from the day they met. Before the event, Jake knew almost nothing about Emily's family. Only on the day of the wedding had he met her father, a phlegmatic man who showed little enthusiasm for what was going on. Her mother, on the other hand, was a different story. As soon as Jake saw her, he realized where Emily had inherited her looks and personality from. Her blue-black hair, sharp features, and piercing gaze caught the eye of every man in the neighborhood. The attractiveness of her graceful figure made people look up to her, and she enjoyed showing it off. She often wore revealing outfits, and her behavior matched her appearance. Accustomed to being the center of attention, she acted like a queen, convinced that the world owed her something. When she first met Jake, she looked him straight in the eye and said mockingly, "Emily, another one. Let's see how long you last, handsome." With those words, Olivia turned and walked away, leaving Jake with mixed feelings. Emily urged her husband not to take offense at her mother's words, saying that she had a unique sense of humor. But as it turned out, there was no humor in that. Otherwise, the wedding was quite pleasant, and during the honeymoon, Jake even managed to forget about the words of his mother-in-law. After they returned, however, Emily announced that her parents had invited them to stay the night. As much as Jake wanted to spend the last weekend alone with his wife before returning to work, he couldn't refuse. He didn't want to disappoint his new in-laws. Olivia and her husband lived in a large private home within walking distance of the beach. They used to rent to vacationers. But this year they had decided to take a break and enjoy the peace and quiet. The 3-story house was practically empty. Spending time in a small family circle was much more to Jake's liking than socializing with relatives at a wedding. His father-in-law and mother-in-law had shown him a different side of themselves. Of course, Olivia remained as inappropriate as ever, but Jake found himself watching her. Even as the evening grew colder, she wore an open-shouldered dress with only fancy sandals on her long, slender legs. She often crossed and uncrossed her legs, seemingly on purpose, drawing attention to them and provoking her son-in-law. As the evening went on, everyone enjoyed their drinks and the atmosphere became noticeably more relaxed. Emily's father, Peter, went outside for a smoke and invited Jake to join him. It was the first time his father-in-law had taken a personal interest in him, so Jake agreed. As he smoked, Peter gave him a brief but firm warning. "Be careful." "With what?" asked Jake. "Not with what. With who?" "With Olivia? You should be careful with all women, but especially her. She'll squeeze you dry and not even blink an eye." Peter exhaled deeply, turned around, and walked back into the house, leaving Jake puzzled. He seemed to have suffered so much with his wife and daughter that he was just trying to keep his future son-in-law out of trouble. But what trouble could a woman bring? They were passionate, ardent. Perhaps that was their virtue, not their flaw. When Jake returned to the house, they continued their conversation without Peter. Olivia, still looking stunning, was acting even stranger. When they were alone together, Jake had the distinct feeling that she was trying to seduce him. She kept fixing her hair, striking exquisite poses in the wicker chair, and talking in ways that gave him the creeps. Emily didn't seem to notice her mother's behavior, and Jake tried to dismiss it as pointless. But he caught himself admiring not his wife, but her mother, who was giving him increasingly explicit signals. As the evening drew to a close, Emily remarked carelessly, "An hour and a half. You can rest for now." She put a strange emphasis on the word rest. But Jake didn't think much of it at first. He went outside to collect the remaining dishes, and when he returned to the kitchen, Emily was nowhere to be found. People always go missing in this house, he thought grimly. He found Olivia, still sitting in the chair. "Just Olivia," she said smoothly, and Jake had to look away. "Oh, Olivia, thank you so much for having us over tonight. We had a great time." "I really enjoyed your company too, Jake. Can you show me where Emily and I are going to sleep?" She disappeared, saying she had some business to attend to. That girl, always running off somewhere. Jake found her tone amusing. The way Olivia was looking at him made him uncomfortable again. "No," he thought, "she's totally hitting on me." She led him through the house, swaying her hips more than necessary, As they climbed the stairs, Jake noticed how fit she was. He heard she was into fitness and especially liked squats. They reached the second floor, but Olivia continued up. Jake hesitated, but followed her. "I thought you only had 3 floors," he asked. "Only the attic is higher," she replied nonchalantly. Climbing to the top floor, Jake expected to see old furniture and forgotten items. Instead, he found another bedroom, modest but atmospheric, with a wide bed in the middle. "Is this our honeymoon room?" asked Jake, confused. "No, this is our room," Olivia corrected him. She immediately closed the door behind him and gave him a long, meaningful look. Jake suddenly felt like prey caught in the web of a skilled spider, or more likely, a spider-woman. "I don't understand," he stammered. "Think less. Do more. Don't you think this is a mistake?" "We don't. Who cares about mistakes?" she interrupted. Before he could react, she shoved him hard, flopping him onto the bed. Olivia always got her way, especially in her own home. Half an hour later, she stood up and stretched. "I'll call Emily,"